go. Let's start over again. I'm going to call the meeting to order now. What time is it?
7:06.
7:06.
7:06. Super. First item, let's see now, is the adoption of the agenda. Has everyone had an opportunity to review the agenda?
Yes.
Okay. Is there any discussion?
Nope.
No. Would anyone like to make a motion to adopt the agenda?
I will.
Rebecca makes a motion.
Would
I
anyone-
second.
Was that Robin?
That's me.
Robin seconds.
Awesome. My computer's not up and running quite yet. Let's see. Is there anyone in opposition to the adoption of the agenda?
No.
Hearing no opposition, we will deem the agenda adopted. Okay, we also circulated board minutes. Has everyone had an opportunity to review the June board meeting minutes?
Yes.
Were there any corrections?
Just my name is spelled wrong, but that's okay.
That is a horror.
No, it's not.
If we can correct that grievous error,
I can.
do I hear a motion to adopt the June minutes as amended?
I make the motion.
Any second?
I'll second.
Second.
Is there any opposition to adopting the June board meeting minutes? Hearing no objection, I will deem the June board meeting minutes adopted. We've got the planning calendar. Have people been able to review the planning calendar?
Yes.
Does anyone have any discussion of the planning calendar? That sounds like a no.
No.
I had a couple of observations in connection with the upcoming concerts and some of the items. And I'll just raise it here, but we can talk about it in terms of fundraising. Since we're doing Friday concerts, is there any interest in either selling beverages or some baked goods? Do we have an intermission during those
It's only for an hour, so it's not anything. And Bev and I had talked about it. Nobody's going to be here in about 5 minutes. And she was not, she didn't want to have to deal with it, selling beverages. But if you guys want to go ahead and do that, that's totally an option. But she was not, for her, we were just going to do a pass the hat thing to try and, and then whatever money we get, we would split between the two organizations.
Works. I don't have a feeling about it. I know some concert venues make some money with intermissions, but
We're not doing
if it's just an hour and we don't know let's see what the first ones looks like. Pass the hat and we'll go forward.
So this is a SHS us combo
Yes.
concert
Yep.
series.
And the other two things coming up, which we'll deal with that in the fundraising report. We'll move on. Right along.
Director's report.
There we go. Oh gosh, it's time for the director's report. Kim,
Okay.
you're on.
Guessing everybody got the director's report. So we are back up and running. We're running fast and hard, and then everyone's doing lots of stuff here at the library. We're trying, and one of the things that I needed to talk to everybody about was whether or not we can continue or we can start doing programming inside the library again. If everyone's okay with that. Because we had our D&D group yesterday out in the tents during that massive storm, and made them all come into the community room while it was thundering and lightning out, and didn't want them electrocuted while they were playing under the tents.
This just seems so appropriate, though.
It was. It totally added to the atmosphere. Braylon was like, "This is great. You guys are gonna get electrocuted." So our presentation for the ribbon cutting and the scholarship and the performance and all that stuff that went really, really well. We had a good turnout. Everyone seemed to have fun with it. If you'll see, we have stuffed animal story time and sleepover coming up, which is I'm asking kids to come with their stuffed animal, and we will do a story time. And you can see on the back of the sheet, Crosby has a stuffed animal lookalike, which we've taken pictures of. So they're going to get to hang out with Crosby and Nash.
Oh, my God.
Your stills.
So Stills isn't here yet.
Or
but,
young.
And then they'll leave their stuffed animals at the library, and we'll do a cute little, like, they'll see them go to bed, and they'll see them maybe read a book and have a snack, and I'll take pictures and we'll post it on Facebook. Birds of Prey is coming up. A history talk on the USS Slater's coming up.
Is that one of in the series of historical?
We can consider it, yeah. We
Yeah,
can consider it that, yeah. We're also doing a create your which is half Asian kitchen. We've got someone who's going to be able to give us tips on what kinds of items to buy, what are your essentials, what brands to get, what not to get. And she's going to do probably have some food to share as well. And then to save the dates, we have Magicians Without Borders, and we have a blood drive coming up. So one of the big things is that groups are asking to use the community room again. We've had requests from the knitting group. We have requests from John Wall, who does the yoga here at the library. He was wondering if he could use the library again. So that's something that would need to be voted on and decided with the board, whether or not that's okay with everybody. So I'm just gonna put that in the back of your heads for now. Our circulation is going back up again. We even have 18 new patrons. Woohoo!
Wow.
We got a lot of them came in because of the handing out tickets for the dump, town cleanup day. We got a lot of new patrons from that, and people coming in and being like, I lived here my whole life and I've never been in this library. How do I get a library card? So it was definitely a great experience for that. Okay, summer reading is happening. Lots of people back into the library. Lots of people are coming in. We had to take a break on story camp and weather. Let's see, we're trying to clean out the community room once all the kids are done with school. Another big thing that has happened that I can share with you is that the Berlin School District Board of Education is not too thrilled with us because apparently we were supposed to get board approval for the story walk, and I had no idea. We thought we had enthusiastic and wonderful support from Mr. Dara and Cyril Grant, and apparently there is now some, I don't know, Rebecca, would you call it bad blood or irritation with us, or?
Yeah, I think they just didn't know about it, and then were surprised by it, and yeah.
Well, I just sent them a very long email to explain the process and show them that we have been communicating with everybody, with Mr. Dara and Mr. Dillon the entire time, and that this wasn't just something that I said, oh, let's go throw the story walk up.
Right.
And I did tell them we're going to take it down off of their property because they want us to put it in buckets and then take it down for 10 months out of the year, which is not the point of the story walk. So I'm going to probably contact Cherry Plain and see if we can't get it done, have it over there. Hey, Noah, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, thanks. So, and we got a thank you card from, I'm assuming it's a thank you card from Noah Bonesteel, but I put it in Jen's folder because it was addressed to her. Summer food is up and running. Camp, everyone seems to be having a good time. That's another issue because camp has had to use the library because of the rain and the rivers that are now running through our property. So we've tried to make sure that the kids stay as separate as possible, and asking Jessica and Taylor to have one group in this area of the library, which is the old area, one group in the children's area, and then one group in the community room, trying to keep everyone as separate as possible while they're inside. And if they're inside, they have to wear masks if they haven't been vaccinated.
How many children do we have?
I think the average right now is 25.
And so each group has
Approximately 80, 6 to 8, yeah. Let me think. Yeah, that's gotta be right. And then we're still doing the food for everybody as well. So, oh, and then the other thing is that I got in touch, Kirk Mitchell gave us, said he's going to be able to do the stairs going out to the backyard off the ramp. He said he's going to try and schedule it for next week after the camp is over, not like, so between 2 and whatever time, or sometime after 2 o'clock in the afternoon, so that they're not dealing with children running up and down the place.
His name's Kurt Mitchell.
Kirk,
Kirk.
Kirk. Yep.
If we're doing it after camp and we were thinking of trying to raise money for that particular task,
Oh, were we? I thought we were just.
my recollection of the discussion was if we can do it before camp, let's do it.
Okay.
If we could raise money off of it as like a pop-up fundraiser, let's do
Okay.
it. I just think you may have more success if you want to try it that way, to set it as a goal and then see if we can raise the money off of it
Okay.
and then do it. But people may have a different view of that.
Anybody else?
I may be being persnickety about this.
The only thing is that to get it done sooner rather than later, seeing as how it's so, if we do the continue, if things ever dry out and we do use the tent for the live at the library and for all the other things, I want to be able to make sure that people have an easier access to get down those steps
Mhm.
instead of, breaking legs on roots and stuff. But it's totally up to you how you guys want to do it, because it's a couple thousand, I think, to pay for it. So
Well, let's see, was there any permitting requirement for that?
that's what I didn't know about. I don't know about all this stuff, so I don't know if we do need to have a permit. Kirk says building permit cost is not included in the price. So I would assume that means we do.
That's what I inferred from that.
Okay, so we would need to.
Maybe
find
we
out
should just
about
find out.
Hey, guys. Sorry to interrupt for a second. From what I can tell at home, Kim, is your computer on mute?
that. Yes, it is.
The only thing I can hear is Sarah typing.
So Sarah, maybe if you mute and
I will unmute. How is that? Oh,
Better.
no way was just saying he has an external microphone that he could just put in the middle of our table so that we could all have heard what's going on. So,
Okay. Thank you.
okay. How's that? Can everyone hear?
Yes.
Okay.
I can hear you.
Well, that's all. I'm the only one talking right now. So we were just talking about putting the stairway in on the back. Kirk said he could start working possibly next week on it after the kids are done at camp. So like from 2 o'clock on. But Scott was just talking about how we might want to make it into a fundraiser. That's something we had talked about doing instead of like just putting it in, but saying we need a back stairs. Can we do a fundraiser based on, help us put stairs going to the backyard? So it's really up to you guys what you want to do.
An alternative model is we're doing this and we're raising funds for it and we can do it at the same time,
That's true. We can do that, I know.
which we can try packaging it that way. I'm not that rigid. I'm rigid, but not that rigid.
I don't know if anyone saw, but we did, Jen put up a fundraising site on the website, on the fundraising page that we have on our website. And it has, it's kind of like a wish list of what do we want, what kinds of things would we like to have people donate money for. Let me just pull it up. So she has on here, the wish list is just some things that we came up with. Plant a tree in the backyard, buy mulch for the gardens, replace one of the screens that we need screens because a lot of our screens have holes in them or we don't have screens on them at all. Sponsor a story
on the main website, Kim?
Yeah, on the It's on the fundraising site.
Oh, okay, okay.
So, and she had on here fulfilled, install a story walk post, and it's, $0 to $100, and then you can donate however much money you want. And that one's already been filled, but you can do the other things as well. So we thought that was a cool idea. So we could do that, help pay for the stairs to the backyard,
I do it that way. but-
Okay.
So it's
But-
on the website.
Yeah. So right.
Yeah, my suspicion is that that's not too heavily trafficked.
No, it's not. I think we need to advertise it more. And then once we do that, we'll be able to get more people to it. So add backstairs.
I mean, even you might put it, as a pop-up on the opening page. We're engaged in building a back stairway.
Okay.
Try to raise money for it. Go to the
Website for it.
website donation page. If you want.
Okay. So I guess the only other thing would be to talk about opening the library back up to in-person programming, and whether or not we want to let people use the library to do things like yoga. And the Mahjong ladies met today. They were going to meet out on the porch, but it was way too hot for everybody. So they met in the community room. Everybody's vaccinated, so that was not a problem. But, we need to officially say, yes, we're open, or no, we're not.
Mhm.
And that way it's, I can just tell people, yes, we are, no, we're not. So, that was one of the things that we needed to figure out. So I'm going to leave that up to you guys.
Well, I think the tricky part is that, state guidelines right now are, that pretty much everything is open, and that's great. But we're also seeing a surge in infections following July 4th. So I have a feeling that, if that trend continues, there might be reinstatement of like masks and, limited numbers of people and spaces. So I don't know, I'm kind of torn on, do we just sort of go with it for now and then go back to whatever it is if the state guidelines change, or do we just kind of keep it at an even, a little bit more restricted than fully open?
You could choose a different course. You could require vaccinations. Say you use a community room, but people need to be vaccinated. Your choice.
Yeah.
And that's just for programs.
Yep.
Yeah.
What about kids programs where kids can't be vaccinated yet?
I was talking about other groups.
Oh, so you're talking about groups that are not in.
Community groups coming.
Well, if they're not coming in during business hours, how is that going to change? How would that change things? Because if like yoga doesn't come in while we're open, they're here on their own.
I'll just protect. That
It
group of
protects
people.
them then.
Oh, silly me. As far as the state changing course on this particular issue, given the current vaccination rate in the state, I would be really surprised, given what decisions have been made, if there was a quick turnaround on that. Which is not to say that there won't be, it's just to say that there've been substantial commitments, and I'm not so sure the government is going to dislocate some of the plans it's already made.
Yeah.
Possible, but
Yeah.
I get the feeling if things go back, it'll be in the fall. But I mean, that's the other, is keep the windows open and
Mhm.
wear a mask if you're not vaccinated.
John has asked, so one yoga group, the knitting group, the Mahjong ladies, and then basically for all the programs that I've been thinking about.
Including kids programs.
I mean, most kids programs, I'm thinking they're going to be outside. I mean, kids can't be vaccinated yet,
Right.
so we're going to do as much stuff outside on the deck as we possibly can.
I mean, with kids programs, wouldn't we follow the same protocol as the summer camp?
They have to wear masks inside, outside they don't.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's what we did with B&D yesterday. I knew that 3 of the kids were vaccinated, 2 of them were not. The 2 who were not vaccinated had to wear masks, whereas everybody else was able to just, but reminding those kids to put your mask up,
So who were to require masking for the external program people? Would we, not masking, required that they're vaccinated, would we require that they show us their vaccination confirmation there?
I think if you're requiring vaccination, you have to require that they prove it from the people I've dealt with. Unless they have to prove it, they won't.
Mm-hmm.
They won't. They'll all say they're vaccinated.
Right.
There's several places like farms in the area that are requiring you to bring a vaccination record.
Really?
We were in the berry patch this past weekend, and the lady required us to have one in order to be able to get in, or else we have to wear a mask.
Yeah, I mean, the guidance is that stores can set their own policies,
Right.
as can any place, anybody else.
Right.
I guess the issue would be that you are not having contact with all of the people that come. You're having contact with one person, all the people come off hours. So how
Right.
would you find out, how would you process the people that you don't actually see?
Exactly. That's the problem. For at least the yoga group. The things also like live at the library, if it rains tomorrow night, we can't use the tents because they are flooded out. Do we cancel or do we bring everybody inside? And that's the other, like, can we do that?
Yeah.
Are we going to allow that or are we not going to allow that? So that's part of me is, what, everybody is open everywhere now. And if you want to wear a mask, you can. If you don't, you don't,
If you're not comfortable going inside, you don't have to.
Right. I mean, these things are for adults more so than they
Yeah.
are for children. So it's not like you're going to have a bunch of little kids coming. At least I don't think you would. But again, it's how do we?
Is there even enough space in here for
We can fit them. We had a 4-piece wind instruments over here. We had like 26 people around them listening. So we can definitely squeeze
Wow.
in.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the hard part with the tents flooded is you can't rely on the tents if it rains.
No. Nope. Yeah, the kids were sliding in the mud. They were having so much fun. I don't know how Kalani came home or not, but mine were, everyone was wet and muddy and
So is there a view as to how we want to proceed?
I am not sure.
Could you, I don't know could you proceed with masks if you're not vaccinated? No mask if you're vaccinated, and set a crowd limit. So, you're still maybe not 6 feet social distancing, but you're not shoulder to shoulder. I don't know if that would
We could,
make a difference or not.
What would the crowd limit be? 20?
I would say 20. Just thinking about how we fit everybody in for the last thing. If we put everybody in the main, by the circulation desk, we could definitely make that work.
Windows open.
Windows open, fan on, because we do have the fan that's by the circulation desk as well. I think the hard part is that everyone's just expecting that everything's going to go back because everybody else is going back to normal. So it's like, okay, if you can go into Cumberland without having to wear a mask and stay apart from each other, why can't we go into the library and stay apart? it's the bigger becomes an issue when you are dealing with everybody wondering, well, I can go to Norte and it's filled. I can go to this place
Yeah.
and it's filled, and
I
so
think that sounds like a pretty reasonable decision to go with a maximum of 20 guests. And they have to wear a mask if they aren't vaccinated, up to them if they are.
so basically the same as what we would normally, I mean, basically that's what we're asking everybody to do anyways,
Yeah, but that way you're not turning everyone down all the time, seeming like an outlier. And, if the Delta variant goes crazy and everything changes, it will change here as well. So.
right.
How do you and the rest of the staff feel about it, Kim?
Honestly, I'm fine with it because I guess I'm at the point where it's like, you know what, I'm vaccinated and I know that our staff is vaccinated, so they're comfortable with people coming in. And the people who they wear masks if they want to, and they don't if they, but we don't seem to have any issues with, we just haven't really had a lot of issues with that, with people, coming in, but people are wanting to come in. We've got a lot of people who are just like, they want to be a part of coming back and so it's kind of like trying to make sure that everybody's getting what they need out of the library now, since everything else is opened up. Yeah. My concern is more things like the kids' room and the children. That's why I haven't really done a lot of children's programming, because it's not, and nothing's open. Like, we haven't really opened up. They brought out the Legos to play with for camp, but I haven't brought out any of the new toys we have. I haven't really, made anything new coming out because I'm not too comfortable yet with lots of kids joining and going together in that room. So, especially if it's camp, they're wearing masks no matter what, and they're inside, they're wearing masks. If they're just here with their parents, it's up to the parents whether or not they're wearing a mask. And a lot of parents are not having their kids wear masks when they come in the building. So, that's kind of why the children's stuff has not really been brought back 100%.
I sort of think that's the smart way to go right now, because they can't be vaccinated, and the Delta variant is extremely contagious and it's hitting kids badly now. It's not here so much yet, but
exactly.
But it's just a matter of time. So it seems like maybe this policy for the adults and the kids, you continue to do as you have been.
Okay.
Part of the policy could be, if you can do it outside, do it outside. Like, that's the first choice, and then inside if you can't.
How many people usually come to something like the yoga class?
That's a good question. I don't know how many people he usually has. I can remember. It's usually full, but they're on yoga mats, obviously. So that area is usually full with the area by the circulation desk. And then you have some people who come in here, maybe 10 at the most. I don't think it's more than that.
Is something like, I think there's a difference between like the yoga group and like the music program, where you're going to get a bunch of different people. There's like the mahjong and the yoga group and the knitting group, pretty much the same people every week. Yeah.
For the most part. And I think that if we, have people stay maybe in the community room when you're doing a program, that way they're more isolated over in that area. That way people who are coming in and out of the library are not as in contact. Maybe, I don't know if that makes a difference or not. So let me think.
Kim, you said the programs are all handled off hours.
No, not everything is.
Maybe that's, we should push them off to off hours. Is that doable?
Probably not. I mean, I've got to think.
Any coverage.
Right. And I don't have, I mean, all of the music programs, those are all at 7 o'clock, so that's off hours.
Mhm.
But that would mean that we'd have to schedule everything after 6 o'clock. And then on a Saturday, I already have 3 things set up for outside.
Okay, that doesn't sound like that works.
No. That wouldn't
Never
work.
mind.
Well, for the weekly programs like yoga and knitting, you said the mahjong was all vaccinated. Could you ask the knitting group and the yoga group if they are?
Yeah, I mean, we could ask them, definitely.
Kind of suspect they might be.
How is it going? Like, what are the things that, you have people going to concerts and to plays, and what are the, is it still you have to wear a mask if you're not vaccinated, or do most places say you have to wear a mask?
In the theaters, all the theater performances I have been to have required the people to wear a mask. Actors Equities requires the audience to be masked. Williamstown does it outside. They had their seats pretty much grouped and social distanced, and they asked people to wear masks.
Wear masks. I mean, that could be the other option, is we say, if you're going to do a program, you wear a mask. But then again, if we're going to be in the library and you don't have to wear a mask if you're vaccinated, then it becomes another issue. So it's just like, how do you enforce that?
I know with the Saratoga track open today, they said, if you're not vaccinated, wear a mask. If you are, you don't need to wear a mask, but they were not checking. That's probably mostly outside, but.
So I think my thought is would these smaller groups of people who want to come in and do things like mahjong and yoga and knitting, it's usually the same people. Almost all of them are adults who can or cannot be or who can be vaccinated. If they can't be vaccinated, then that's up to them. They have the choice. They can do it, with kids, it's different because we can't vaccinate everybody under 12. So I think that if we were to have a children's program and it was the kind of thing where we had to have kids come inside because it was raining or whatever, we would require them to wear masks. For the adults, I honestly, I think that if we distance, we open windows and we keep the fan running, I don't see a huge problem with it. If we're already going around people who want to wear the masks can. Obviously, we're not telling people don't wear them. But then when you're singing, that's the other thing I've just realized. They're singing and playing music.
That's right. And that is
The singing.
Is the singer vaccinated?
I don't know. I would hope they are. Right. Right.
So maybe that means
For the larger groups.
Side concerts, if it's bad weather, we should cancel rather than have a bunch of people who from all over the place coming in here and singing.
I agree with you, Sarah.
Yeah, I think that sounds like a good idea.
I mean, remember the masking policy is tied to social distancing.
Right.
When even in the darkest of times, putting aside what people were saying, is you are only required to wear a mask indoors if you couldn't maintain social distancing.
Mm-hmm.
And people
No
try to enforce to a different standard, but that's what the rule was. So to the extent that you have smaller groups who are either masked or people social distancing,
and
or unmasked, as long as there's social distancing, sort of you would have satisfied the requirements of the emergency orders then in existence, no longer in existence.
Right.
And it's also consistent with CDC guidance as well.
Right. So for larger programs, like those kinds of things. So, if we have Birds of Prey and it's pouring under the rain, we would have to cancel. Live at the library, if it's pouring, we cancel.
Mhm.
But things like Mahjong or the D&D
Which
kids,
regularly come and do it,
a weekly-
regular whatever.
right,
So same people pretty much,
then those are okay to keep. I think that
That
that's.
seems like a
that's-
sensible approach.
Yeah, no, that sounds like a good idea to me. Okay. And so for John Wall, who's coming in, he would just, I mean, he has a key. They're here before, before anyone gets here. So I might end up being here while they're here, but that's about it. So I would just, and they're all adults. So we could see if, if no one, there aren't any kids under 12 going to be doing yoga. So should we just say, they're good to, if they're vaccinated, do what, okay. All right. So. Small groups. All right. Sounds good. Then I will start, I'll make sure that that's out there too. And hopefully, knock on wood, the weather stops raining.
doesn't look like it.
I know. My basement's flooded. I really would like it to be done.
Are you done with your director's report?
I think so, yeah.
Because we've sort of blended into the pandemic update. And I'm behind schedule and I'm trying to run a tight ship. And I'm failing.
Well, you kind
miserably.
of, those are like the same thing.
Yeah,
right?
no, I was not castigating you.
Okay.
I was
I'm
just,
just,
I was just observing that it was just a seamless segue into the next
It always
agenda
is.
item.
It always is. I think it's like half of the stuff we do.
Melanie, you're up. And I still can't get my computer working, so I'm apologizing for screaming.
That's okay. I'm also having technology issues. A tree fell on my brand new internet line, so I'm logging in on my cell phone. So I can't actually see my treasurer's report right now. But
I can share it, I think, with everybody. Let me see if I can do this. That.
but while Ken's working on that,
Melanie, I
Thank
just have a dancing treasurer's report here for everyone.
okay. Everything looks good. We're still on track. I forgot to update the sentence in the report that says, it says something from last month, like we're halfway through the year. I forgot to update that. So we're a little over halfway through the year at this point, but still on track with our spending. Thanks, Kim. And I think it's interesting. So you can see all the numbers for the accounts. I don't think I need to read through all of those. And my little calculation there to figure out what our possible cushion is, I think it's interesting just how it's been changing a little bit from month to month, but kind of staying, if you average it out, staying in line around 40,000.
So basically we have unallocated funds of about $40,000 in our accounts.
An average of that, yes.
And that doesn't seem, at least based upon your experience as treasurer, that hasn't changed a whole lot.
No, it's gone up and down over the months, depending on, it's been affected a little bit by the grant money from the survey project. I should have taken that out the first month, but I didn't think of that then.
I mean, you're not, I'm sorry, go ahead.
What was that, Scott?
I was just wondering what the swing was. Are we talking about a fluctuation of greater than $5,000 from month to month?
It's been 37, 40, 44. So
Okay, we're talking about plus minus 10%. Depending.
yeah,
And it's up and down both ways, and it's not trending any particular way. It's just
yep.
Oh, Yes, all right. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. That's okay.
Sorry, I also have sun coming in. But anyway, as things look like they're on track.
Okay. Ed is not with us today, is he?
Yeah.
Okay, so we don't need to adopt this report, we just move on.
Yep, and
Sarah.
while I'm still talking, at some point, I'm going to disappear to put my kids to bed. Evan has summer school, so he actually has to wake up on time tomorrow. So when that happens, that's what's going on.
What time are you planning to do that?
A little after 8.
Okay, let's do this then. I would like to flip the discussion of the master plan proposal to this point now, because I would like you to be here for that discussion.
Okay.
Anyone have a problem with that? Okay, as my toddler grandson would say, talk about the master plan.
No, do you want me to print you out a copy of the master plan so you can read through it with us, or do you have it on it?
I'll start because I have a gavel. I thought it was interesting. I thought the plan wasn't necessarily as closely tailored to what we were up to in connection with the boilerplate, because he was using his own, normal form. But the things that struck me was not that the services were expensive, because I don't think they are necessarily expensive for architectural services, given what the architects are talking about. But in terms of what we have allocated for special projects, as well as what we have in our unassigned bank, funds in our bank accounts, 25 grand is a lot of money. There are 3 components of services, as I recall. One had to do with, basically conceptual drawings and that sort of work. Some had to do with facility management or facility evaluation, and the other one was sort of developing services. Mm-hmm. It struck me that we operate in something the size of a home, and 9 grand for the evaluation of our HVAC unit and whatever seemed pricey. And perhaps, while it's necessary to do, I think, in connection with the kinds of things we were talking about, if we go down this road, that seemed like a crazy amount of money for actually what's involved. I could be totally wrong about that, but it just struck me that way.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I spoke with Tony Beverly at length about the projects and the things that they've done. So Tony is the one who built all of that stuff, and he's the one who he knows the history of the place. So he knew that, he couldn't get rid of the drop ceilings because there's lead paint on all of that, and the remediation of the lead paint would be way too expensive for us to take on. He knew that the reason that they chose to do 2 boilers was because the old director, who I guess Barbara Kubley, must have been her, who was doing all of this stuff, she wanted to have 2 separate zones of heating. She wanted to have a zone here, and she wanted to have the zone for the new section so that she could keep things separate. So there's a lot of stuff that if we just sat and walked around with him and said, okay, tell us what you know, and wrote it down, we could avoid the $9,000 of what do we need to have done, because he knows when everything was done. He knows, and he knows that because Tony Beverly, he used to be on the board, obviously, but he did a lot of work with the place, and the roof, the reason that they did only up to that one part is because they didn't have enough money to cover going on to the other side of the roof. So that's why that wasn't done. So there's reasons that they did a lot of the things that they did. It's not, So it's, I think that we can get the history of the place.
Yeah, but I thought that what you would be doing is not so much saying, this is the history, but this is how long you have before you're gonna be hit with this hunk of
Yeah, that's
expenditure.
part of it.
Yeah, definitely a part of it.
And also it's examining the site conditions so that if you're thinking of doing something substantial, you've done the investigation to know that it's
Mhm.
doable, that you've got the support, you're not doing it on a quicksand or whatever.
Right.
So I mean, all of this stuff makes sense. It's just, it's a lot of money. And in one sense, that's okay if we view this as a long term. I mean, sort of like what this comes back is to the strategic planning side of it. This is a long term project. We're not building additions tomorrow.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was thinking maybe we fight it off this year, we do that one piece. So we're 8,000 in for this year doing this whole infrastructure piece. And then next year we do,
It's, what did he say? It's billed monthly, I think.
you
The other-
have to agree to
The 3,
full 3 in order to get this pricing. guess
I think you do.
I wouldn't assume anything. It's a discussion.
Yeah,
They'll tell you one way or the other. It is, it isn't. Basically what they've done is they've got experience. They generally know what it costs them to do this. So basically these are fixed price. I mean, it's not time and services. So
Right.
this is what they think, this would be involved.
Yeah, to me, it didn't seem all that expensive if we chunk it out like that. And we're not getting hit with all of it in 1 year.
well, the only thing though is that it's that's in addition to whatever it is that we might be doing to the building. So,
Right.
we're adding another 25 grand onto whatever it is that we're gonna do if we're gonna do more construction and, adding stuff on. So I think that's my only concern is that that's so much, that's a lot of money.
I mean, there are other ways to go move forward. You can pay future services and hire a consultant. You can hire Paul for his hourly rate, which is probably not cheap either, but
Yeah.
it's sort of a different way of approaching it. I was just, it's a big nut to crack. I mean, I think I'm less concerned with the analysis of the systems and how their expected life and stuff like that. It doesn't really, I mean, it helps you budgeting, but it doesn't change the fact that you've got aging systems that you'll ultimately have to replace, and when and how you'll confront that when you confront that. But the planning side doesn't help you any. It gives you just a better sense of, oh my God, my system is going to probably fail within 5 years, and I've got to start saving for that. So that's useful information. At $9,000, you can buy a heating system for that matter, for a place the size. I mean, I'm oversimplifying it, but
I mean, we did just put in a new furnace. This furnace over here is new. The air conditioning system's new. So there are things that we do know. So my concern was the structural integrity of this part of the building. Tony was telling me that he did jack up that part of the building because the foundation was crumbling, I guess. So they fixed that part of the foundation and everything else was solid. But he also did say that, don't go and move your bookshelves yet until you have someone look at the structural engineering side or the structural integrity of the floor. So, I'm kind of, I don't know. And the bigger thing too is, are we really going to go forward with trying to do a construction grant? Are we going to really, is that something that someone's going to take on at this point? Is that?
Well, I think that issue depends on what do you want to do. Obviously, you're not doing anything significant this year. We don't have the time to do it.
Right.
I mean, I think if we found a project that we could fit into the criteria, which would run us something between $5,000 and $15,000, and I'm talking about the actual cost of the project, and we could put it together, I'd give it a shot. I don't think I'd necessarily do it with Paul. It would be something real simple. And you
Yeah.
go get an, I mean, because ultimately what you have to do is identify what it is. You have to justify it, and then you've got to need an estimate.
Right.
And that's really all that you need to do. It won't be a glorious addition. It will be limited. But if there's something that we can identify that we need, and it doesn't cost that much, I think it's probably a useful exercise to put your toe in the water. And that's sort of like begin to get to know the process a little better with something that's manageable. And so that's sort of, and then you have an entire year to think more seriously of this process, which is, again, it's going to be a longer term process. And remember that the funding for next year's grant it's decided in September. It gets approved next year, and the funds aren't available for so you're talking about a year and a half or something like that until you get a commitment for funds. So this is dare I say a journey. depending on what you end up doing, it could be a crusade.
Right.
So I think step by step.
But you were suggesting that the first step would be with a consultant other than Paul?
No, actually, I think Paul's great. I would love to use Paul. I think he's got an understanding of the system. He knows funding sources. He's familiar with local libraries. I think he's a gem. I think he's a treasure. And I think he's a fabulous resource. And I would love to use his firm. And then the question is how can we best utilize it? That's my view of it. I mean, I was very impressed. I mean, I think the proposal makes sense.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money.
That was all. I mean, and I'm not saying that it's disproportionately expensive.
No, it's just a lot. Right.
That's all. That was my response. It was like, I mean, it's just a lot of money. I mean, I just did a remediation of lead in my house downstate. That was a lot of money too.
That was a lot of money.
And it was inexpensive in the sense of for the work that was done. I mean, we spent a lot of money, but it could have been twice that, depending on who you used. I think the estimate is a reasonable estimate. It's just the question is whether you're buying more than you need to buy, and whether there are things that he can comfortably remove and get something. I mean, I guess from my perspective, I think the most important issue for us is to get a conceptual plan staged out as to what do we do, how do we best use this facility. And if I had my druthers, I think probably some of the easiest things to do is fix the seating areas, do some of the little stuff that he suggested that gives a big impact, although doesn't necessarily involve a whole lot. Even if it's a question of like putting up in a couple of windows, moving the shelving perpendicular, opening up the area.
Getting the sight lines.
Well, I'm not concerned about this. I mean, the sight lines are nice.
I mean, sight lines to light.
Yeah, but I like the idea of getting more light in here and even clearing out that area and creating a little space where people can congregate. Those strike me as useful things for the library, makes it a more user-friendly facility, and isn't a huge amount. I mean, for heaven's sakes, even if you bumped out, no one talked about this, if you bumped out the front area over here, where the seats are now, if you got another 5 feet, you actually could have a seating area that doesn't interfere with the entryway. Whether that's doable or not, I don't know, but it just seems like.
So what are you proposing we go back to him with? What would we say we wanted?
My sense is that you would rely less on the component of, figuring out the nuts and bolts of the facility and the estimates about the heating system and stuff like that, and thinking more about a conceptual plan. So he may very well come back and say, you can't have one without the other. Or if you do, it's not prudent, because you need to know what you're working with before you start planning, because you may be wasting your time because you discover something. Now, it may very well be that if he sits down with Tony, he can solve those issues and get the information he needs by someone who actually has personal knowledge of the facility who's actually worked on it.
Right.
So, I mean, I think that's probably the discussion that you would want to have with Paul in terms of, okay, we got the contractor who is a board member who, did some of the work and would volunteer, but he knows the facility. Is there a way? I mean, I think it's going back to them and saying, interesting proposal. We really would like to move forward. We're trying to figure out how to fit into our budget and try to figure out how we can, get core things that are important to us and, what can we not do so that you don't spend money we don't have. Those are my thoughts.
Anybody else have thoughts on it?
I think Tony's a great resource. I know him personally, and I think he's going to give a lot of good information. So if we can get him to kind of be part of this process, that's great. And I'm super excited that you've already reached out to him, Kim.
He comes in all the time and we end up talking a lot. So he's fantastic. I like him a lot. So definitely can sit down with him and say, hey, okay, here, you have a list of everything you know about the place.
Mm-hmm.
He's happy to do that.
Is there anything more that we have on that? I haven't heard from Melanie, Rebecca.
I agree with what's been said already. It sounds like Tony has some good background knowledge about the library. There's some history things that I feel like are not important to keep dragging around, like an old director's feeling of wanting two separate zones in the library isn't something we need to keep going forward with, but it's certainly helpful to know about the foundation and lead paint and things like that. And I think the plan that you outlined, Scott, about asking if there's things that we can drop out of the plan so this can actually be affordable to us. If we can gather some information about the history, I think that sounds like a good idea, looking at small projects that make a big impact that we can afford.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I agree with the small projects and starting there. I think there's a lot that can be done aesthetically, even just, painting the paneling or to brighten up the library.
If it's any consolation, based upon my experience, lead remediation is not necessarily all that expensive.
Yeah.
Not cheap, but if you can, there are encapsulating paints. The drop ceiling there may be other alternatives.
Okay.
Just saying. I mean, my house in Brooklyn is probably bigger than this. I don't know if it's bigger than this. It's 3 stories.
Wow.
There's a lot of.
That's a lot of paint.
Basically, about 2,400 square feet of
Lead paint.
areas. Yeah, lead paint.
Ooh. So do we want Paul to join us for another meeting so that we can ask him these kinds of questions?
I think we probably ought to give him a phone call and say, we looked at it. We're sort of excited about the proposal.
Mhm.
Our budget is limited and we're looking for ways that, work for the both of us to move forward and trying to figure out if there's a way to get this package of services in this price range.
And maybe here's what we already know about
Yeah.
existing conditions, so we don't need to reinvent that wheel.
I think that's probably the approach.
Okay.
I mean, it's not a question of can you do the same for less. I think the discussion is, can you do less for less?
What can we do about?
Essentially, what's necessary, and what can we sacrifice? And we acknowledge that you'll be losing information or losing stuff that, in a perfect world, it would be good to have, but.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay, so let's check off our items. 1, 2, 3. I can't work my computer and I can't work the agenda. I'm totally falling apart here. Okay, so okay, let's do committee reports. Sarah, what you got?
Okay, well, I guess the main thing is that the survey is complete. It closed on the 30th. We got 224 completes, which is 16.5% response rate for online survey. That ain't
That's
bad.
good. That's good.
Yeah, it's
Good for you.
it's almost 1 in 5 households are represented. So
That's pretty good.
Do you know, I'm just curious, do you know, will you be able to recognize from the survey responses as to whether we're talking, like a lot of those responses are from people we already know about?
Yeah, no, I can tell that.
Okay, that'll be useful so that we
Yeah.
can,
I mean, I think as you would imagine, there's non-response bias, the people who are not engaged and don't do
Yes.
things, or not engaged and don't do things. But we do know that there are people who say they use the food pantry. There are a number, not a huge number, but so those aren't the kind of people that we typically would think, oh, it's just us talking to ourselves. And there's a number of there's sort of a theme in it that's like culture clash theme with sort of right-leaning, left-leaning annoyances about your neighbors. And it's kind of obvious from that we're getting people that aren't the feedback loop we're used to.
okay, that's great.
Yeah, no, it's very interesting. I'm almost done with the report, actually. I have like 100 something slides over. Because I have to, each organization is going to get the core report plus the report for their organization that will have all the verbatims on likes and dislikes and stuff like that.
That's
Or
great.
representative verbatims, not all the verbatims. And who raised their hand to be a volunteer or to be a donor. They'll have that list as well.
Great.
Yeah, so I'm almost done. It's really cool. I'm excited about it.
Great.
But let us move on to the things that need attention. So as I said, I'm almost done with that report, and I would like, before we share it with the town, to absolutely share it with all of you guys. So I want to try to set up a meeting before our next meeting. I know we are sick of all these meetings, but just to, I'll present it to everybody and get your questions and feedback and incorporate things if you think, well, you should highlight that or leave that off or whatever. So I'll try to set something up as soon as I'm done. I think I'm going to be finished with it by the end of next week.
Oh,
And then, well, the lecture series number 2 on the needs attention is already taken care of by the upcoming USS. What is it? USS Slater?
the USS Slater. It's a destroyer ship in Albany. Someone's coming, a volunteer is coming to give a presentation. And they'll have slides and different interactive stuff.
It's an in-person.
Yep, in-person presentation as long as it doesn't rain. Because if it rains, then we're going to be in trouble.
So you sunk.
We
But
exactly, we're the symbols.
The logo. I don't know, Robin, did you get feedback from everybody on the committee and pull that together? We got 4 logos from Abby to consider, and then each person on the brand and marketing committee provided feedback via a survey. And because Robin is sort of the conduit to Abby, I'm not sure. I didn't see everybody's feedback. So.
Oh, I attached those. So if you look at the email that I sent Abby that I copied everybody on, all of the survey responses are included in that email.
I didn't see it, so I will look. Okay, good, great. So has she responded yet?
She responded to say that she got the material and she would be getting something to us next week.
Okay. Great. And another thing is, we were talking about new taglines. The tagline would obviously, it's important for it to sort of fit in well with whatever logo we select. And the 2 that we service that we like the best, but open to lots of options, are in a past, present, future theme, honoring our past, inspiring our future. And the other one, which is more of the town's community center theme, was cultivating community connections. So those were the 2 taglines that we thought were.
I liked the first one that you said.
I like the first one better.
I think that it speaks more to what our mission statement is,
Mhm.
you know, and
With the memorial, yeah.
that's,
Yeah, and if people have other ideas, we're wide open to hear them, but. So we'll pick something there. Do you have any ideas?
I like the banner sign. I think that's great.
Oh, you
readers
do?
make good neighbors.
Readers make good neighbors?
I don't know that we can do that as a tagline though,
Why not?
because a lot of the people who come to the library don't read. They are getting books out. They're not getting books out. They're getting movies out, and
But they should be reading.
Oh,
Oh, I'm
should be.
sorry. I didn't say that. Oh, okay. That's a fair point. I'll
they
grudgingly
don't
admit
use it
that.
just for reading. We're more than that now.
Or we could make it a longer tagline. Readers, among others. Make good neighbors.
Maybe
Maybe not so catchy.
libraries make good
Robin,
neighbors.
how am I doing?
Brilliant.
Oh, yeah, right.
You could say libraries make good readers or good neighbors.
Or libraries make good communities.
That works too.
Or libraries help build communities, or too many words. But libraries build community. I don't know. I'll think about it.
Yeah, think about it. Give it another.
I won't waste our time here.
Yeah, so as of now, we're leaning toward honoring our past, inspiring our future, and we will be open to some other things, but we have to get them pretty fast because we want to finish this thing up. We're going to coordinate the tagline and logo, as just stated, integrate branding efforts into library's work plan. So that would be working with Paul, if we move with Paul, to make sure that, you know, the colors and all that will
Mhm.
all match back to what we're trying to communicate via the logo. And that's, oh, and then the other thing was the library welcome program. We talked about having a phased rollout. One would be just what the library would do, which is partner and collaborate with other town organizations to provide a more holistic and helpful welcoming experience for new residents. That's the longer term one. And the shorter term one is the library will independently reach out to new residents with a letter and a magnet once we have the logo and tagline, and info brochure, and maybe a library card form to get new members via that form. So we'll do that first, and then the big idea is to coordinate with the other organizations. That's it for me.
I'm sorry, I just got the computer working.
You might want to put your volume down as far as you can.
Yeah, that may be another challenge. I'm leaving. I'm trying to leave. And it tells me my internet connection is unstable. I think the operator is unstable. Unbelievable.
That worked.
I apologize. It's not here for strategic planning, so we get his 5 minutes. I think the only issues, and probably we'll do this some other way, I'm not going to do it here, is in connection with the items we have on our event calendar. We'll start thinking about what, if anything, we want to do in connection with fundraising. It strikes me that having sort of a bake sale or selling goods is probably for these little events appropriate.
Mhm.
For the Stephentown, I think the thing which Willie is doing, maybe
car show.
something different, maybe a selling venue if we can find vendors.
I think they're already doing that. One of the
Okay.
two organizations are already doing vendors. So if we were to do it, it might be stepping on toes. So I was going to contact Rhonda from Rhonda's Reptiles to see if she could come and do something. And then we've just been kind of trying to figure out, like, is there something else we can do? So,
Okay,
you know, if we can come up with
let's keep that
something.
in mind. If we can find non-competitive venue raising
Right,
opportunities,
exactly.
we can do that. We've got a little time before we need to get on it. We'll
we'll schedule something,
Right.
maybe a Zoom call.
That
And
works.
everyone can just shoot the breeze and try to get some ideas, perspective and stuff. People are out of town, maybe people want to do other stuff.
So just so you know, we have the 24th, the 31st, and the 21st of August are all larger programs that are going to be here during the day. They're all Saturdays. So if there's thoughts of wanting to try and sell stuff or, bake sale, whatever, those can be days to do that.
21st, 24th, 31st?
Is this on the plan-
24th, 31st, 21st.
Is this on the planning calendar?
I don't know that she might have put it in there. I'm not sure. It's on the website.
I must confess, I found the website daunting. I've got it somewhere. Whatever, we'll get the dates.
Okay.
Nominating, Rebecca.
Yes, we have, I think, 2 or 3 potential new trustees.
Noe's here.
Hi.
You're dragooning him. He's going to move from the potential column to the elected column in just a few minutes. If we talk fast, even faster.
Okay, I will talk fast. On to the volunteer group. We have 18 volunteers right now. And all of their emails are in our email list. Their phone numbers are there. I think I was approached by Kristen at the summer reading program, who was a prior board member. I think once I get through summer camp, I will try to reach out to prior board members and see if they are interested in it. It did occur to me when she sent me her email that she was interested that maybe at bake sales and those types of events, we should have just like a little area that says, if you're interested in joining, fill out this form.
Sure.
And that's all I have for that committee, I think.
Awesome. You saved us some time. How about the youth committee?
The youth committee camp is underway. Best laid plans never work out. We had the 3 tents thinking we could use them if it rained. We did not anticipate this much rain. I am grateful that everybody who works with us is very flexible and creative, and we are making it work. The tents are flooded underneath. We've been using the deck. I think like tomorrow we're having a magician come in the fire department, and I believe Jessica got permission to use the fire hall pavilion. Have you heard?
I don't know.
The emails went back and forth. I'm not sure if that's finalized yet. So we're trying to be creative as we can and to keep it going, and hopefully the sun comes out. But from what I hear, the kids are having fun regardless, and it is what it is.
Noe's shaking his head. I'm shaking my head. They don't seem to mind a little mud and rain.
No, Otis has come home soaked from drip, drip, drop every day. So, yeah, we're just taking it day by day.
Sounds good. It looks like we don't have anything for buildings. Is Melanie still with us?
No.
Okay, so much for grounds.
I can tell you about grounds. Oh,
There's
she is.
Melanie.
Hi, Melanie.
Sorry, I'm listening in the background, and I know my name was on grounds from a while ago because I didn't have anybody else to put in there, but I'm not really paying attention. Although I did hear from Jen that somebody volunteered to weed our gardens, probably because they look so scary right now.
She did, and she's very excited to I told her she can come and do whatever she wants.
A blank canvas.
She's like, oh my goodness, Susan Novak. She just moved to town. well, she moved to town because it's during the pandemic. But if you want to meet her, she works down at Berkshire Thrift on the weekends.
Oh, cool.
She's lovely, lovely person. And she just came to me and said, would you mind if I at least weeded? I said, go for it. So she was happy to say, I'll do it.
If she really wants to weed, I've got plenty.
No, she just wants to, she has a farm. She just wants to do this because she started looking at it. So
I think also concerning the front, now that everything has its leaves and is in its full bushiness, we should reconsider if we want to take out some bushes or trim down some bushes before they eat the front of our building.
well, that's one of the things I told her to look into doing if she wanted to. So she took care of her daughter's school's grounds for like 10 or 15 years or something like that. So it's an experience she has. So I said, if you want to take stuff out, if you see that there's a lot of work to be done, we can try and gather some volunteers to do it together. She was just like, I'll let you know. So
you think she's knowledgeable about trimming and that stuff?
Yeah, she was going over all the different plants that we have. It's just like,
Okay.
yeah, that plant we can get rid of because that's a horrible weed and that shouldn't even be growing there. And she's like, there's an oak tree growing. Maybe you want to put that somewhere else.
Yeah.
So
I think as far as out there, less is more. I think we can get rid of some stuff or trim down or get rid of some stuff.
I agree.
Okay, we're done with grounds. Thank you, Melanie. And by the way, we don't accept your disclaimers. You're on the list. You got grounds. And you should have thought about that before you put your name on the list.
She's shaking her head.
Oh, we're up to electing new board officers. Noe, I'm going to give you an opportunity to introduce yourself formally. You were here at our last meeting, and now on the cusp of your election and inauguration. Why don't you introduce yourself to both the folks who are on and perhaps all those people who will join in later to view us on YouTube.
Hi, everyone. So my name is Noe. I moved here last August of last year. I am currently a student of web engineering. Hopefully I'll be done by September. I'm originally from Puerto Rico. In about 2015, I moved to the state of Massachusetts, specifically to Boston. And for the past 6 somewhat years, I've been managing and administrating mental health or human services nonprofits in the Boston area. Last year was a bit of a toll for everyone, and lots of these nonprofits closed, and that's where I took a turn to change careers and ended up in Stephentown. I have a 7-year-old daughter who loves coming here and enjoys the camp very much. And my wife, Itzamari, she is currently doing the what would you call it? Story time here at the library since last month. She has multiple experience in that area as well. And we are expecting a baby boy in October. So fun stuff.
Awesome. So I think I'd like to take this opportunity to raise the issue of your nomination to join the board. I'll make that motion to nominate Noe as a potential board member.
I second that.
Fair enough. We had the introduction. Should we have any, do we need any discussion? Fair enough. Why don't we actually put this to a vote? All those in favor of asking Noe to join the board, say aye.
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 And is there any opposition? Having a unanimous vote, I am pleased to welcome you to the board. I guess as a technical matter, I think the board nominees are actually officially brought in at the annual meetings, but pending that, which is next June, no, next April probably, you'll act as a board member because you are a board member and waiting your full and formal investiture at our annual meeting. So welcome aboard. I think you'll find it an interesting experience. It's an interesting organization to run. It's a nice organization. The folks I think you'll find are easy to work with, and we're looking forward to a great ride.
Did you say you're a web engineer?
I'm studying to become a web engineer. I'm halfway there.
That sounds like a very useful thing for like us.
Programs, lots of
Yeah.
programs.
Great.
We give, everybody gets a binder, and I'll make one up for you, and I can actually have it ready when you pick Kalani up tomorrow.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I'll have that ready for you.
So our next item on the agenda are committee assignments. I must admit, I haven't been paying attention to the wants, desires, and needs of folks who are on committees. And I don't know whether there's a desire for people to shift around or move around. But if so, I guess we can talk about it now. I was thinking of trying to dragoon someone else into doing fundraising for a couple of reasons. But one, I think I've been doing this, although not a long time, I think too long. I think probably having someone come in and do a fresh look and maybe think about other stuff would be a good thing for the library. Which is not to say that I won't be involved, but it's just to say that if you're relying on me for new and exciting and fabulously lucrative events, I don't think I'm the guy. So why don't you folks think about if anyone's interested in sort of organizing it. And do other folks want to move to different committees or stuff, or?
I have no idea.
I know that I would like to remove myself from the youth committee, not because I don't find it interesting, but because I find myself completely unhelpful. And I feel like I have enough other stuff going on. Is that okay by you, Rebecca? You're muted. Probably all for the best.
Maybe she's just nonplussed rather than muted. I don't know. But I want in on buildings.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I don't know.
For a player to be named later.
Actually, you know what, Maria, I'm gonna email this to you. Let's see if I can share this.
Now, in the past, building simply meant that if there was a leak, you came over and fixed it. Hopefully we'll change that.
I want to paint. No, we have some furniture to move around. After camp's done, we're going to change out that community room. So Noe, I just sent you the link to the Google Drive folder that has all of our meeting information in it. So that has the committees and, you know, all the different information that you might want.
And while I'm at it, I'll share my thoughts in connection with the organization of the library committee assignments and board stuff. One of the things that I think is problematic with such a small board and then having the committee structure is that you got all of the structure, not a whole lot of process, but all the structure, but not a lot of work people, worker bees.
Yeah.
So we've got, you know, we operate as committees of the whole and strategic planning, fundraising as a committee on the whole. I mean, and then, I mean, the youth committee has magnificently operated independently, and that's a vibrant and, you know, really busy committee. And The others, I don't, from my perspective, I'm not sure.
That we need the
That-
committees?
I'm not well, I think it's important for people to probably specialize. The question is how to best use our time, and how to best organize when basically you've got a very small core of people doing stuff. And I'm not so sure that the system we have currently works all that well. I don't think it's I think it's less a communication issue
Mhm.
and more a bandwidth issue and time.
Mhm.
And I think we should, I started to try to think about how can we do this a little better. But I don't know whether people share that view. I don't know whether you find the committee structure useful or not.
Well, I think for something like branding, it's really kind of necessary. And I think what we had talked about doing was having one committee meeting each month that would be halfway between the two board meetings. And, you know, you don't have to come if you're on the committee, but you're invited to come because we want everyone's feedback. And that doesn't seem that onerous. And if there's nothing to talk about, we don't have a meeting. It's not like we're having a meeting no matter what. If there's no there, we're not going to have a meeting. So I think that works and that's fine. But maybe other people feel like it's too much.
I'm fine with it all, but that's just because I'm going to be a part of most of it anyway. So
Yeah.
it's really up to you guys where things go.
Okay.
Um,
I don't have a strong feeling. I just think it's a lot of structure.
As another voice, I agree with Sarah. I think that the committee structure helps to take some of the weight off of the board as a whole, since not everybody's involved in every committee. I think it's working well that the committees meet when they need to and report back to the board.
I agree with that. And I think it depends on the committee as far as, like some committees might meet every month. Youth committee meets a lot in the spring and then not at all in January, grounds probably doesn't really have to meet. I don't, but I know what the youth, like the committee has allowed me to do is bring in some people who aren't on the board to be part of the committee and help out.
Yeah, because there's a
Can't
community.
do that with every committee, but
And you're right, there's a community of interest out there of folks who want to be involved in that kind of activity.
right.
Right, so we actually could take some volunteers and say, hey, do you want to be a part of the grounds committee? Do you want to be a part of the fundraising committee?
And that may be actually the answer to this.
Yeah.
It's sort of like, rather than just having the board members doing it, really opening up the committee assignments and bringing the volunteers in.
And my understanding initially was, that's fine to involve non-board members as long as the committee is chaired by a board member.
Yep.
I mean, obviously, like the administrative committee, we probably don't want volunteers for, but where appropriate, you can open it up to the greater population.
Do we want to send out an email to all the new volunteers, people who have signed up, to say, hey, we have some openings on some of these committees. Would you like to be a member?
I think that's a good idea. I think we should talk about it and
Okay.
decide which committees and sort of what scope is. And once we straighten that out in our heads, then I think that's a great idea.
Okay. I think actually doing something like that, waiting until September when things are back to school and no one's on vacation anymore, it might definitely be something where you can get more people to maybe participate.
It's like only 6 weeks away.
Oh, don't say that.
I just wanted to.
Please. No. It can't be.
We're already
No.
pushing August.
No, I can't.
So I guess is anyone interested in playing with fundraising?
I would definitely help out. I cannot do any more committees. Unless you want
I can understand that.
Do you want to trade?
Well, certainly the youth committee would have a different look. You get like a really old guy doing the youth committee. Like,
I don't think I would be able to chair the committee, but I do have a lot of experience writing fundraising appeals. So if that comes in handy at all, let me know.
Sure.
That'll come in handy during the, annual appeal letter time. I'm sure.
I didn't catch that, Kim. The volume went in and out.
During the annual appeal letter writing campaign, I think that probably, your experience would probably come in great. So,
Happy to help.
Okay, I think we're pretty much done with assignments. Although it seems like people have escaped but haven't accepted more assignments, have they?
That seems to be the case at the moment.
And apparently we've only just begun, and we'll probably put this on the agenda.
Maybe when everybody's here or send out an email. I don't feel like we're all represented right now.
Yes, I think that is true. Okay, which brings us to old business. We got any old business lying around that we would like to bring up?
did I talk about what happened with the school board? Not
Yes.
happy with us?
Yes, you did.
Okay, then I'm good.
So that was old
That's old
business.
business. That's really old.
It was
business
new,
now.
but now it's old. So,
Exactly.
so we can move on. The public seems not to be with us. So because you've been dragooned and you're no longer a member of the public, you are now one of us. Any new business?
Was
Well,
there
let's see,
something on the agenda under that?
Pardon?
I thought there was something on the agenda under
Yes,
that.
there were three pieces. We did two of the three. We did the community use by groups, right?
Yeah.
We did indoor programs. And what we didn't discuss is managing communications and meetings.
Was that the committee discussion?
Yeah, I think that's part of it. I mean, I from the standpoint of the various emails that go around, I mean, I read the ones I read, and to the extent that there's something that doesn't interest me, I look at it, but perhaps not read it with as much care as I ought. But I haven't been troubled by that. I don't know. Do other folks have issues? Is there a better way for us to communicate?
Well, it seems to me that, like, since we split things out so that committee members get the committee emails and everybody else doesn't, that actually the flow of communication has
Okay.
tapered off a little bit and it's gotten better. That's my.
Good. That's nice to hear. So it sounds like we've covered that point too. Which brings us to calling to adjourn.
No.
Does anyone want, is there anything, have I missed anything? Is there something more you'd like to talk about? Do you want to go home?
Vacation.
Okay. Okay, anyone want to make a motion to adjourn? Okay, I'll make a motion to adjourn. Hearing no motions, would anyone like to second that?
I'll second.
All in favor of adjourning, say aye.
I.
I won't even ask if anyone's opposed.
If there's no.
Thank you for attending. I think I'm going to destroy my computer because it's useless.
Oh.
And apologize.